lack of spaces between each word, and the third odd element is the period at the end. This most certainly looks like the address to the site. // these jokes make no sense, period. And if we combine the following elements, the angel and the fire, we actually get a search result redirecting us towards a blog. Now, there is a lot to unpack here, like a lot. And I'm not going to do that, at least not in this video. What I'm going to do instead is make another video where I will simply read out the entirety of this blog, just in case you are the kind of person who would rather listen to someone reading stuff rather than reading it yourself. Either way, the video will be unlisted, and the link to access it will be on the top right of the screen, or in the description of this video. So now you can actually choose whether to sit through this entire thing or not. In case you choose not to, then I will provide a very short resume of this blog. The blog is a personal diary of sorts, of someone talking about their experience with amnesia. They narrate their feelings and document their experience, along with showcasing various files they found on their computer's hard drive, which they do not remember creating. Particularly a file named Joe. Size text file containing a bunch of random ASCII text. The author of the blog then proceeds to explain their discovery that the jokes.txt file is in fact a .mp3 file. By changing its format, they are now able to listen to the file. From there, every entry in this diary blog becomes far more disturbing, taking a turn to something that a few years ago people might catalog as a creepypasta rather than an ERG. A friend of mine attempted to dissect this entire page, looking for hidden messages or additional links within it by inspecting its elements and the page source, but that didn't yield any particularly interesting results. It seems that the only part worth dissecting here is the MP3 audio that we can download. So, let's start with the most obvious thing to do, and let's listen to the MP3 file. I'll go ahead and give you this disclaimer. Most of the words spoken through the file are hardly understandable. You'll be able to make out some bits here and there, but using headphones is definitely recommended for this part. The next disclaimer, and also a spoiler, but whatever, I think your ears are more important than a small spoiler. After the first minute, the audio will start including some screams, loud ones. So yeah, take care with the volume. I'm saying this from personal experience. And now, let's listen to the file.
This is the son of none other than Troy's very own Prince Hector. Know that we will grow from a boy to an Avenger. One who is waiting will come soon by age. If you don't end it now, you'll have no one left to say. Say goodbye to Penelope. Say goodbye to Penelope. I could praise him as my own, standing forward for you. This is never enough. Waiting for her, now my knees for her. This is the will of the gods. Please don't make me do this, don't make me do this. Your hands from your home.
Hello. I look into your eyes and I think back to the world to see my son and wife. Just a man. When the comments become the media, when they become a blaze, when they become a monster, when those become the tidal waves, when they become the waves, when they become a monster, when they become a media, when they become a
Asking it to analyze it and develop any information within, which was a bit longer. ChatGPT managed to find an embedded JPEG image of the file. Unfortunately, the image was corrupted and I couldn't view it. ChatGPT wasn't able to extract the image no matter how many times it tried. Fortunately, I'm blessed to have a friend really good with computer stuff, Makima from Chainsaw Man. I presented him with his problem and he managed to figure out the solution. For anyone who is well versed in computer science, this might not seem like much, but I was astonished by his work and genuinely impressed by how quickly he managed to find a solution. The image depicts a character that we've now seen recurring multiple times, the Jester. In this image, we see the Jester falling down while attempting to juggle multiple daggers and being made fun of by kids wearing crowns. The Jester takes revenge, sort of a last laugh kind of thing, I assume, and this subsequently vanished from the board. I would like to point out that this specific depiction of the children's souls is not surprising. It's absolutely correct. The next thing I did was open a file from Audacity, the software that I use to verify on other files and recordings before uploading them to YouTube. Usually, slightly increase the quality of the voice, screen, background noise, and stuff like that. Now, Audacity also has a spectrum function. Something I have attempted with other parts of this ARG because hiding stuff in spectrums like ARG-101, but they didn't yield any result. At least not a result that was comprehensive to ignore on that later. Anyway, by converting raw files from waveform to spectrogram, we get this result.
So what's the plan? Where's plan? Where's plan? My second in command. Now full speed ahead.
I honestly was distracted when I first saw this image. It was a bit of a shock, to be honest with you. Either way, I think that this might possibly be the same channel we were screaming in the audio file. The angel who is there suspended by the ceiling in the Viper's commercial. Her blog, Viper, extracted and harvested the brain betrayed so strong that it could be protected back to life. The child, after receiving her crossword symbol, perhaps really used, but an experiment conducted by the man of science who created the crossword and the faces of terror is now one of the life-suffering experimental communication. This one detail that I would like to point out is that while we might initially believe for that circle
Now speed
it is more likely for the alien question to be the wake of bullets eventually by Queen in episode 8, indicating that he has seen as already the next element perhaps there said the next character I want to follow in this ARG is Captain Cornwall's, the digital rapper John Cornwall from the mid game Captain Cornwall's in Treasure Defense. Captain Cornwall's is a rather recurrent character within the series. As a matter of fact, the first time we see him is in a drawing hung on Wizard's wall, alongside a green-haired angel and the blue dragon, which bears a striking resemblance to the dinosaur we've seen already. Another instance of Cornwall's mention is actually right before his commercial. During the second Nancy's commercial, the character I've nicknamed as Duo attempts to reveal something to the viewers before being quickly silenced. His voice becomes slightly higher pitched, and through some experimentation Well, that's the thing. By editing them more and also the intro, I've been able to make a few points out. I will be mistaken. This is the version I edited, and while I'll admit it's not a good edit, I think you can still make out probably every word he speaks. Give it a listen.
For us to show our faces. Stay back, I'm warning you. If we don't get back safely, then we'll turn place into places. It's amazing when you really on. From the heart, it's screaming right up the world without a song. Break the world it's open on, break the world it's open on. My friends, I wish that I could say that I agree. But look at the way it's going and flowing and filled with glowing seeds. It took me a while to notice just what kind of relief. The longing, control your mind, and never let you feel. That's what we get when it's always been on. Along the cedars, I'd like to tell my friends that kindness is great. Everywhere there's solitude to eat. A cave, and there's a cave where you look peace. And when we go find this fulfilled cave. Inside your heart, for there's someone, the world is open, the world is open, the world is open. Have you forgotten the lessons taught you? Have you forgotten the word of your heart? This is not you. I see you changing from how I designed you. Have you forgotten your purpose? Let me remind you. God is the wisdom, master of war. My life has one mission, create the way for you. What a challenge, still skill, magic power only the best could kill. And a boy came with thrill. Mind level the cause of will. Maybe one day this sorrow will make a greater tomorrow. You know he's the Lord, he's the warrior of life. Until you reach him, you will ask him as the problem. The answer is the fire of the light. Yourself, you know you're watching me. Show yourself. I can see you. Keep my spell. Huh? I'm so confused. I don't know who you're talking about. I'm so sorry. Sigma. I don't know what you said. I'm sorry. That's in the arena. That's me and Queen of. Try to be resilient. Looking for a mentor. That's where you have a friend. So fun, constant, and friend. them, and we can build their skills as we teach them. If there's a problem, we'll have the answer. The warriors of the night. Better make sure you don't fall behind. Don't forget the warrior, very special mind. The warrior of the night.
That's up to 360. So, is this our man? The man from the Raiders? At the moment, it appears to be so.
Over here.
Look at all this food. Look at all this tea. I can see if the place is always for us to keep. And you both like treats. We're here to feed the entire fleet. It's almost too perfect. It's not to be true. Till all this years pass up on all this food.
So, also they say in this one, there are no mysterious elements in this ERG, with each episode essentially just reading decipher. This series is the wet dream of any puzzle author. You can just be
Just drop it.
great and beautiful series which controls and captivates your core. I also amazing mysterious elements. By offering
It's not so fun to take. You can't do it, you can steal. Little misunderstanding. They're here to steal. We've done some damage. We know I can make a deal. You'll find treasures. Leave a light. Best tasting wine. Have a drink. And you'll understand the power that's in your hands. Never wanna be human flesh again. We're going on our way. We're here today. Music, gift from you and a gift from me. Thank you. What's your name? My name is nobody. That's a beach, but we're feeling the good is bad. That's what's told, I'm sorry. Wipe it, Lord, we're here and now. Show me how, there's a way to survive. 100 miles a day, just what Lord can say. When they tell us we're not dead, reach, stand up and fight for your lives. Tomorrow's a turn, just one life to live.
Most known to least known, obviously. We have so much FNAF content out right now, both official and fan-made, but it's rare to hear someone talking about all the lost media around both the game and the community. Obviously, there are a few videos here and there, and maybe a Reddit thread about lost FNAF media, but no one has ever compiled this many cases of lost media surrounding FNAF and put it all in one place. So that's what I'm doing today. All of the entries are color coordinated and marked to make it easier to understand. Entries that are green are lost media that has since been found. Orange means lost media that has been partially recovered, and red means that it's completely lost media with no official trace of it being found. And gray means the existence of it is unconfirmed. Basically, it might not even exist. The brown OM means it's official FNAF media created by Scott or a licensed company. And the green FNAF means it's unofficial or fan-made media relating to the FNAF franchise. With all that out of the way, you don't need to waste your time. I hope you enjoy it. Lego FNAF is a remake of the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, but in Legos, obviously. This game added a ton of different features like a weekly challenges system, lives, and a shop where you can buy plushies, other cosmetics, and items to help you survive. They even made it to where you had to own the game on Steam to even be able to play it, just to make sure it wouldn't be taken down by Scott. After the release of the first game in around June of 2022, the amount of praise and attention that it got was so widespread that the team behind it did the only logical thing and announced Lego remakes of the second and third game. All the trailers, which are still available on YouTube, they are just remakes of the original game trailers but in Lego, but it's still cool to see, and there are a ton of jokes and secrets in them, along with just generally being incredibly well made. Sadly though, on December 12, 2022, 6 months after the release of the first game, the development team behind Lego FNAF received a DMCA takedown request from Lego themselves, effectively killing the game right then and there. Because of the DMCA takedown, the original game was taken off GameJolt, and the second and third games were left unfinished. It's sad to see that the series had to end like this, and I wish it was possible for these games to still be made, but unfortunately that's probably never gonna happen. The first Lego FNAF is still available online, but for the second and third, there are only a few screenshots and videos uploaded to the Lego FNAF channel, which are pretty interesting to look at, and it's cool to see what the games would have been if they had actually finished development. At real_Scott, that was Scott Cawthon's original Twitter account. Though he never used it and only had one post on the account, it was suspended in April 2022 for unknown reasons. Some people believe that it was due to the controversy of Scott's political donations, but considering this was almost a year later, I'm not convinced, but it's still possible. The more plausible thing, and what I believe, is for whatever reason Scott's account was spam reported, and just like all other social media platforms, they just deleted it without checking. As for lost media, there are many Wayback Machine saves of his account, so the contents of it weren't left lost for long. And considering the only thing on it was a teaser for the Warner Bros. FNAF movie from all the way back in 2015, it wasn't a whole lot. It's crazy to think they had a movie planned for 8 entire years. Sandbox Security Breach is a version of Security Breach that was supposed to be how the game turned out, but because of the scale, last-minute changes with development, and many other setbacks, this obviously wasn't the version of Security Breach we're left with today. This all comes from a Reddit post by someone who was very much so involved with the Security Breach community, and who has gone through what I can assume to be all of the game's assets. I'll try to summarize the important bits, but the original post containing page below more information will be linked in the iceberg. Also to preface, I never finished Security Breach, so pardon me if I get some things wrong, but for the most part, I'm going to be summarizing the post. The gist is, the Security Breach that was released is far more story-based than it is gameplay, and the version that was originally planned out had a ton more gameplay features, including 6-hour nights that were just cut out for one reason or another. In the gameplay trailer, you can see, when looking at the Fazwatch, that it would actually keep track of the time like it would in other FNAF games. This doesn't seem to be seen anywhere else due to the version we have now being almost entirely scripted. Another remnant of these 6-hour nights were some of the voice lines that would play over the intercom. Specifically, there being a couple referring to, say, 15 minutes to the hour, followed by an announcement, I guess, to the animatronics to return back to their recharge terminals. To back this up, there's an instructional card which states that you can only recharge Freddy at the end of the hour, which just straight up is untrue. There's also an unused vanity meter that was meant to be in the game, which would increase upon idling as a way to stop you from just sitting around and waiting for the night to be over. If the meter filled all the way up, Vanessa, who would be controlling the map, would run over to a large bathroom to which she would become vanity. If you've ever gotten this glitch when dying at 6 a.m., that is also a leftover asset from this cut. At the end of each night, you would be given 3 different plans to choose from to continue on. I'll have both Plan A and C on the screen right now, but for whatever reason, there was never a breakdown on Plan B. But it had something to do with the loading dog. The idea behind this was to give the player free will to play the game however they wanted, and to choose whichever path they felt like going down. There's a lot more to this, and as I said, it's an insanely detailed post, and I just barely scratched the surface. They go over things such as map changes, the animatronics pathfinding, and the reasoning behind why this version of Security Breach was just physically impossible. So I'd recommend checking it out. I'm not even a fan of Security Breach, but this post was really interesting nonetheless. I'm sure everyone knows about this, so I'm gonna try and make it quick without skipping over anything. FNAF AR was an augmented Pokemon Go type game, except I don't really think you had to go anywhere for it. You can catch animatronics, collect remnants, there's skins too. I'm gonna be honest, I forgot what the fuck you do in this game. It was initially met with a decent amount of praise upon release, aside from some criticisms of lack of lore, bugs, and microtransactions. People didn't seem to love or hate the game, but as time went on, Illumix, the company behind it, began changing. They began prioritizing cosmetics on their gameplay, adding more and more reskin animatronics instead of the ones they had been promising since release. One day in December of 2021, they would release their last new character, and for the next 2 entire years, every update would just be a few characters becoming available again for a limited amount of time. Maybe some bug fixes if you're lucky, and that's about it. Until February 2024, when they announced the game would be shutting down, before shutting it down the next day. I wonder why they were in such a rush to shut it down. This one kind of falls in a gray area of Lost Media. There are archives of different versions of the game, as well as fully playable builds on GameJolt, but technically FNAF AR is Lost Media. Though this one isn't as new, I thought I might as well put it on here because it's official and a short entry. In October of 2016, FNAF's sister location was publicly released as version 1.01, therefore making version 1 completely lost. The number change was very insignificant and not even Scott seemed to notice, so I imagine there wasn't a whole lot changed.
There really is nothing like seeing every round is different. There's so many unique characters. It's the tactical changed.
Now this is where it starts to get interesting. As we get deeper, you're going to notice less and less official media entries, and that's because I didn't want to just cram a bunch of lost versions or teasers that are basically just the same thing with a new good thing. I only want the best for y'all, so if that's not a reason to subscribe, I don't know what is. Alright, let's keep going. Running in the 80s was a FNAF fan game that released in August of 2020, focused around Fredbear's Family Diner. The game isn't too special. Don't get me wrong, from what I've seen, it is incredibly well made. It has some similar mechanics like the doors from the first game and audio alert from the third game, but the gameplay or story isn't what I'm looking at right now. The game was pretty popular. Channels like 8-Bit Gaming, Doggo, and even MatPat the Megaton release definitely helped boost it quite a bit. There's only one teeny tiny little issue. The game was virus, specifically an adware Trojan, which, if you're not familiar, a Trojan virus is just any malware disguised as a legitimate software. And adware is any malware that is designed to install itself on your computer and will show ads and pop-ups which can immensely slow down your system. It can also infect existing files on your computer, which make it a real pain to get rid of, and sometimes requires you to completely reinstall your operating system. According to a thread on Reddit, it wasn't intentionally put into the game. The developer must have had some virus on his system which infected the game files before they published it. For that reason, the game was removed from GameJolt, and not too long after, a re-upload of it, assumedly without the malware, was posted by another user, to which that would also get removed from GameJolt for unknown reasons. There is a version of the game without the virus up on GameJolt. I guess you could technically say the version with the virus is Lost Media, but shut up, because I'm sure no one wants to play a game with malware. Before the release of Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Kaufman organized a Kickstarter to raise money for the development of the game. This included different incentives to donate, such as wallpapers, early access version of the the game and the ability to become a beta tester for the game. When researching this entry, I found something out that I haven't really heard anyone talk about. If you click on the creator of the Kickstarter, that Scott, you can see his Kickstarter account was created back in June of 2014. But for the fundraiser, it was canceled June 17th, meaning at most, the fundraiser was up for 2 weeks as opposed to the month that it was planned. Just kidding, it was up for 3 days. For less than 72 hours was funding for this game available. I don't know why no one has talked about this before. I found a grand total of 2 Reddit comments mention this, while I've heard countless videos reference this as some sort of struggle Scott needed to overcome. But it seemed like he didn't actually need it, as the game would launch less than 2 months later. Yapping aside, the wallpaper pack was an incentive for donating, which you would receive for donating $10 or more to the fundraiser. I know a lot of people see this as lost media, but I have it gray for a reason, and the Yap session I had a moment ago was wrong. It just doesn't make sense to me that Scott would put all that effort into some wallpapers for a Kickstarter, only to abandon it within 3 days. The reason for the Kickstarter was to pay for the cost of living while he developed the game so he could work on it full time. Considering he worked on these games alone, I don't think there was much money he needed to spend on development. I've heard a lot of people refer to the wallpapers as lost media, but I personally have a hard time believing they were even made in the first place. FNAF World Mobile was made available on Android devices on January 12, 2017, and subsequently removed from the App Store the following day with seemingly absolutely no statement by Scott whatsoever. Though the countless bugs and interesting development choices can give us an idea of what happened. There wasn't a whole lot changed about the game when porting it over to mobile, but the changes that were made were some pretty interesting ones, namely the dialogue you get from Fredbear. Instead of normal dialogue like he has in the PC version, he greets you by saying, "Welcome back to FNAF World," the game that almost single-handedly destroyed the FNAF franchise, which, when compared to the original game's dialogue, is nothing like it. The craziest part is, this keeps on going. The entire main objective is to use the jump stick given to you by Fredbear to beat that fool upside the head. Even Fredbear has some insane dialogue, with some real bangers like, "So one time, I mailed myself in a box to my grandmother looking like this. I jumped out and was like, yeah, rip." There are many other differences like bugs with animations, some scenes being changed, others completely removed. There's so much to talk about, and I don't want to just paraphrase the whole thing, so go check out the Dapper Waffles video on the FNAF mobile port. Aside from the information, this video was just really entertaining, so go check it out. It turns out that this whole game was supposed to be a troll, with Scott even referencing the people who were begging him to make one in his announcement, as well as even stating that the game would be taken down in a few hours after it was released, and to go get it while you can. Though in the same post he mentioned that he would take his time to make it compatible for other devices, which obviously never happened. There are ports of FNAF World online that are relatively easy to find, as long as you know how to read and aren't just randomly clicking links. Obviously, that means it's been found. The story behind it, though, is insane. Five Nights is the name of a deleted video on Scott Cawthon's official YouTube channel, which was discovered due to Wayback Machine archives of Scott's Google Plus account. On this Google Plus account, 3 different private videos were discovered. One titled 5 Nights at Freddy's, which is the same name as the official trailer that is still posted. Another titled 5 Nights at Freddy's Gameplay, which, again, is the title of another video that is still posted on Scott's account. The final video, and one that spawned a ton of speculation, was titled 5 Nights. The video was speculated to either be a robust early version of the FNAF 1 trailer we have now, or another early gameplay video like the one that's posted to Scott's channel now. The reason people were so keen on it being a trailer was due to the very first comment on the trailer article. "I think this is an interesting angle for a horror game to take. I can sort of see why you changed the eyes from the last video, but I wouldn't hold too much stock in people who want to see spikes and daggers and blood and skulls and all that garbage just because the animatronics aren't scary enough. The mention of a last video was enough for people to begin looking endlessly at this video. And the video that people believed to be the previous trailer Lee was talking about was the aforementioned 5 Nights. Though in 2020, someone on Twitter would reach out to Mommy and ask him what he meant by that comment, and if he remembered anything about the previous video he had mentioned in his comment. Today, surprisingly, would respond, confirming there was a previous video in which there was a scarier design for the endoskeletons that isn't on Scott's channel anymore. Sadly, the same day, they would follow up that comment saying that they were mistaken on making the first comment if they were actually recalling the trailer that is up now. Considering some of the things said by them, this honestly doesn't convince me there wasn't at least an earlier upload or version of this trailer that they had seen. Though an argument can be made that since the now deleted video was uploaded a day before the official trailer was released, that it has to be the same. But considering Scott was able to make a second game on top of a trailer for it and teasers in literally 2 months, I think it was possible that some changes were made to the trailer before the upload. Though we have no idea what these changes could I know this entry is already pretty long, but when looking through videos for other entries, I found a comment made by Wami in 2020 saying that there was actually a different trailer, one that isn't the same as the one we have now, but as I suspected, there wasn't a lot changed. The only change that was mentioned, same as the comment, was the eyes from the endoskeleton once Buffy takes off his mask. The eyes were said to be normal eyes like the ones seen in the teaser image, instead of the red dots that are in the trailer now. Also known as just Stingray with some Arabic text at the end. This was supposedly a free version of FNAF 2 that was available on Android devices on the website AppToy. The reason this is so popular is because in the recent years of the FNAF community, FNAF ransomware has become a trope for fan media, and this one was supposedly made all the way back in 2014 when the games had just begun coming out. There are tons of myths and misinformation about this game, such as in pilots where the cheek and jump scare, and in playing a voice from your speaker telling you that you've been hacked, and I'm sorry, but if you're over the age of 14, you'd know that this definitely isn't the case. At least none of this has ever been confirmed. I'm personally not going to download and find out for myself, but it's more than likely just to be malware disguised as FNAF 2. Someone actually found the original downloaded and uploaded to VirusTotal, which revealed exactly what it would have done to your device, which was lock the screen and apparently uninstall the device. So yeah, I've seen people online say they had downloaded it and it completely destroyed their device or wiped all of their files, so I don't doubt that at all, though the stories of creepy shit happening are most likely fake. FNAF Plus was a now cancelled officially licensed remake of the original FNAF game, being made by the developer FNAF as a part of the FazBear Fanverse initiative. I'm sure you all know what that is, so I'm not going to go too in-depth into it. It's basically just a partnership between Scott Cawthon and a bunch of different fan game creators, basically to fund and officially distribute their games along with providing merchandise opportunities and mobile/console ports for their games. Now that's out of the way, we're not actually going to be talking about FNAF Plus, but rather the FNAF Plus VHS tapes that are teasers for the actual game. These are infamous for both the extreme amount of effort that it seems was put into them, as well as how these are some of the earliest FNAF analog horror videos, which most likely inspired some of the more popular ones that are circulating today. Obviously, since this isn't a FNAF Plus media iceberg, something happened to them. The creator of the video started a stream in July of 2023 where he would play through and give his opinions on the newly released Ruined DLC for FNAF Security Breach. If you know the story, you know where I'm going with this. He had many criticisms of the game, which, to be fair, is more than fine, but the issue people had with this was the seemingly unnecessary harshness in complaints towards the game, while at the same time being a part of the previously mentioned Fanverse initiative. After the stream, Phil would tweet out, "Well, that was boring," and under the tweet, people would also give their opinions on both the Ruined DLC and the stream that he had done. One particular tweet started the downfall of both FNAF and FNAF Plus as a whole. A user jokingly replied, "Can we tweet this after FNAF Plus comes out? It's only fair." To which a select few delusional fans would go and send death threats and even gore videos to this person. After learning of this, instead of making a serious statement, Phil would post several tweets saying to send him death threats and gore instead, along with a quote-unquote apology dog that it said linked to a FNAF rickroll. Later, the user who was being sent these awful things would try and reach out to Phil with seemingly no response. He would then make a tweet about it, which Phil would actually see, though all he did was apparently like the tweet and block the account right after. Since then, the only serious statement made was one that reads, "Jokes aside, sending people gore and death threats is completely unexcusable behavior, and I don't support this at all. I don't consider anyone that would do this to be a fan of me." Not long after, on August 3rd, FNAF would be removed from the credits of FNAF Plus's Steam page, pretty much marking the end of both the game and his position in the Fanverse initiative, though it's still unknown if Phil left himself or if he was removed by Scott, though it seems more reasonable to believe that he did it on his own will. Following all of that, and Phil's departure from the FNAF community as a whole, the FNAF Plus VHS tapes that were used as teasers for the game were all removed from YouTube. Obviously, because of all the hype surrounding the games, these videos weren't lost for long and were uploaded back onto YouTube not long after. The only reason I have the VHS tapes as lost media and not the game as well is because the game never actually had a book release. No alpha, beta versions, no demos, so I don't count them. Okay, that last entry was a lot, but I found the drama in the FNAF community to be very interesting, so I tried to include as many relevant details as I could without dragging it on longer than it should, because I know a ton of people already know about the situation. If you don't know, Sparky the dog was a rumored 6th animatronic to be in the original FNAF game, and is often credited as the first FNAF hoax. The rumor of this sixth animatronic blew out due to the mysterious nature of the game back then, back when no one knew what was going on. The very convincing Photoshop showing what Sparky the dog looked like was sure to fool most people in the FNAF community back then. Since the beginning of FNAF all the way until now, Sparky is still a pretty prevalent character, whether or not it's official. Though I'd like to mention that a dog animatronic suit was seen in the FNAF movie, so you never know. But what I want to talk about is the very, very first mention of Sparky, all the way back in 2014, all the way back to the first ever post mentioning Sparky the dog on the very magical website known as Tumblr. Not much seems to be known about the original. Some things that I think are pretty interesting is that the image was made a decent bit after the hoax was created, and back in 2020, the creator of the original hoax video was on Reddit to answer a bunch of questions about it. Unfortunately, it didn't reveal a whole lot about the original post. The only thing I know from digging around is that it had to have been made in mid to late August, because the first post I saw to talk about it was posted September 5th of 2014 by the creator of the hoax telling everyone that it was fake. That early post about Sparky detailed how in-depth this hoax was. Before the infamous Sparky image in the parts service room, the original creator of the hoax had made up rumors that the screen would turn black if you tried to screenshot him. There was a post about how to summon Sparky. There were actually 3. Must have been some COD Zombies-ass code to summon him. And a post about his game mechanic that was said to have been clever and included Spark shooting from his assumedly broken arm from time to time. Aside from that, I haven't found any other hints to what this post could have been. No videos, no archives, nothing. That leaves this completely lost. But if you have any leads, I would be more than happy to hear about them in the comments, because this is one I personally find pretty interesting. Bonzi Bunny was a Source filmmaker web series back in the day by Nixon. I'm sure some of you recognize that name, but I'll get back to him in a moment. This was a series of shitpost videos depicting Bonnie or Bonzi terrorizing the night guard nicknamed Extend Dawn and saying some ridiculous shit. It's about the same humor you'd see in games like Day Shift at Freddy's or Five Nights at Fuck Boys, so pretty on par for the time of release, that being around 2015. Now, I briefly mentioned the creator of this series, Nixon, and if you're a part of the FNAF community at all, you know he's the creator of many different well-made and well-liked fan games and fan series, or however you say that. Those Nights at Fredbear's, Those Nights at Rachel's, and his most popular, The Joy of Creation. It's crazy to think 9 years ago he was making these goofy Source filmmaker shitposts alongside some decently well-made games from time to time, to now being a part of the Fanverse initiative and creating some pretty insane looking things even for today's standards. When doing my initial research, I found a playlist of these videos by Nixon himself, meaning these videos were not deleted, just unlisted. Fortunately, there were re-uploads of this series by many people online, including compilation and reactions to it, so it was never lost for long. On May 19th, 2024, YouTuber Bizzo, my bad if I said that wrong, uploaded a video detailing her discovery of 2 lost songs originating from the mini-games in FNAF 3. Those songs being the ones used in Angel's Quest and Chica's Party. Though in her original video about these lost songs, finding them seemed to be a pretty dead end, coming up with no matches from her searches, receiving no responses from the people she contacted, and the only leads coming from the depths of YouTube comments. 6 months later, though, she posted another video surrounding the search, where she stated that only 3 days after the original upload, a user by the name of Meeps Wonder had actually found the original song, being titled The Fox Hunter's Gallop by Marion, though the origins of Chica's Party music has yet to be found. In this follow-up video, multiple different websites with the song listed were brought to light, many of those sites listing the song with the name Fairy Dance. This is all the information we have so far. Obviously, I left out a few minor details, so if this is interesting to you at all, I would recommend checking out our video on it below. But to this day, one song is now found media, while the other one is almost completely lost. This title is pretty self-explanatory. Fun Times at Homer's is a decently popular FNAF fan game centered around, obviously, The Simpsons. Though the game doesn't look bad at all, dare I say, I enjoy the style and how they were trying to replicate the style of older Simpsons episodes. That's not what I'm here to talk about, unfortunately. Before the release of Fun Times at Homer's 3, a teaser by the developer of the game was posted a game drop containing something along the lines of "Dang N-word." Months later, people started mass reporting it, to which the page of the creator was taken down. In response to this, I'm just gonna sum it up. He admits to doing so. It says that people had no issue with it from us, and the people who had reported it and taken it down were quote-unquote spreading it without context and possibly jealous. So a bit interesting, but there's A user on GameShow responded to this saying, "I don't think you should be saying the N-word, even if it's a joke." To which the creator replied, "Again, I just casually said it since I felt we weren't on Twitter and people wouldn't go crazy over it. So it's not even a joke use of it, it's just a scenario where I get dirt on me because people who try to cancel me once a month can't stand someone who aren't as visible as they are." Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it's because they're miserable people. It might be the casual use and admission of using the N-word, and I'm not sure what context would make this better, though I obviously don't have the original teaser image. For now, the N-word in Fun Times at Homer's 3 teaser is completely lost, though this is one of the ones I have more hope for coming up, depending on if people even care enough to find this. Moral of the story, if you're not black, fucking don't say the N-word, I don't know. We are just over halfway through now, and if you're still watching, thank you. It absolutely means the world to me. If you want to see more videos like this, or just FNAF-related content in general, you can always turn on notifications. I'm always working on videos. Here's a little hint at what the next one is, just because you made it this far. Now let's keep going. Fight Night at Freddy's Settings is a video that was posted to YouTube by the user T. This video is the very first FNAF ransomware video to surface online, and if you've been around the FNAF community in the past year, you know how big the ransomware genre is, especially in FNAF. When this video was uploaded, it was taken down shortly after by YouTube themselves for an unknown reason, though it wasn't lost for very long, as the original uploader would upload the video to archive.org, as well as a video to YouTube announcing so, in a very parody-ish style. This is mainly on the list because I think it's interesting how a video that influenced an entire genre on FNAF videos was just simply wiped off the platform by YouTube for seemingly no reason. And if the creator of the video didn't come out and post it himself, it's possible that this video would still be lost. Though thankfully we do have this video, and it's about what you'd expect from a FNAF ransomware video. In 2015, someone known as Losada Pelotti uploaded a game to the Apple App Store called 5 Nights at Freddy's 4. It had the same description as FNAF 3 did, and tons of positive reviews, those probably being for bots. Considering this was released well before the actual FNAF 4 was, obviously it wasn't the same FNAF 4 we know now. The game used fan art of the original FNAF cover, and one of the preview images showed the sniper from Team Fortress 2 inside the FNAF 1 office, though it only gets weirder from there. Upon downloading the game and opening it, the loading screen would be an upside-down version of one of the FNAF 2 teasers, and the title screen showed some sort of FNAF My Little Pony crossover. Very excited to see what this game's about. Upon pressing play, it would give you a set of seemingly random questions to answer, a lot of them making no sense, both the questions and the answers. Supposedly though, pressing anything but yes won't actually do anything. After these questions, the screen says, "How about a sword game? Ask," before sending you to a 2D side-scrolling platformer game with some big FNAF theming. I'd imagine if ChatGPT had no idea FNAF was a horror game and you asked it to make a sequel to FNAF, this is probably what you get. Afterwards, the game would crash and send you back to the home screen. Other than that, there is no information on this game, no download links, nothing. So I'd say that qualifies as lost media. Fazbear's Collection 2 was a FNAF VHS video uploaded on January 31st, 2021 by username 12man_OP. The same day it was released, it was taken down off YouTube following the whole Squimpus McGrimpus drama that happened. I'm not going to go over that, but TLDR, minors. But in the midst of this, Fazbear's Collection 2 was found to have an actual photo of a dead animal in the video around the 32-minute mark. For a short amount of time, a censored version of this video would be re-uploaded to his channel, though the very next day, his entire channel would be taken down. It wasn't by YouTube though, it was by his brother apparently. From this point on, I can't verify how accurate the story is, so keep that in mind. Apparently, his brother took down his YouTube channel following even more controversy, this time inside of his Discord server, where once again, his brother was on his account and apparently began to spread rumors that 12-man Oscar had a schizophrenic episode the night before and had attempted to kill himself, to which he was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, as Oscar himself returned and posted a video debunking the rumors, saying all he wanted to do was take a short break and had let his brother have access to his accounts. Another thing mentioned in the video was that Fazbear's Collection 2 would never be released publicly again. Since then, many people have gone on the hunt for this lost video, but seemingly no one has been able to come up with anything. It's quite strange strange that a video that had so much controversy spawn because of it can just disappear and never be seen again. This is another case in which I have the most faith that can be found. It's only a matter of when and where. For now, the video is completely lost, and all we have is the remnants of the controversy it had left behind. In 2015, with the release of FNAF 4, also came the announcement of a free Halloween edition of FNAF 4 for those who purchased the game. Though it seemed like Scott hadn't done DLCs for his game before and wasn't sure if it would be able to work on Steam, to which he announced that if it didn't work on Steam, he would release it completely for free on GameJolt. Following this announcement, he accidentally published GameJolt page in full, basically leaking the Halloween update as well as a complete version of FNAF 4 absolutely free. Obviously, it was taken down very quick after, but unfortunately spread. Not very loud though, as the version uploaded to GameJolt hasn't been archived at all, and the only remaining piece of this is a screenshot of the GameJolt page and the header that was used for it. It's unclear if the version uploaded was any different from the one on Steam, but still, this one isn't the biggest find, but the fact that Scott accidentally leaked the Halloween edition of FNAF 4 is just kind of funny.
The music in the background is from Epic Musical.
Last year was the longest one, but it still had some interesting cases. I'd say around here is where the cases start to get a lot more interesting to me personally, so let's keep going. Creepypasta Castle was a mod for the original FNAF game made back in late 2014, less than 2 months after the game was released. The reason this game is so well known because it is seemingly the very first FNAF fan game released publicly. This game isn't really anything to write home about. At its core, it's a stripped down and reskinned version of FNAF with some wonky controls, many bugs, and classic creepypasta characters to replace the animatronics. Those characters being Pinkie Pie, who replaces Bonnie, Ben replaces Chica, Sonic EXE, who replaces Bonnie, and Tails Doll, who replaces Freddy. Some interesting things to note about this game is that the tower only lasts 20 seconds, meaning the whole night is only 2 minutes long. Another thing is that the power starts at 0 and counts down into the negatives 1 each second. The thing is, with a constant power, you can only make it to 4 AM if you do absolutely nothing, meaning even the first FNAF fan game was impossible. Pretty on par for a lot of fan games today as well, though only 2 months after the initial release, the full version of the game would come out, fixing the power and adding all 7 nights. Though they were all as different files for some reason, though the power was better, it was still impossible. The first night was just barely beatable, and the second night was just flat out impossible. And that is about all the information we have on this game. The first version of this game has surfaced online sometime in 2024, but the full version of the game is completely lost. It's sad to see because I'm honestly curious if anyone would be able to beat the game, as I'm sure there are some bugs that can allow you to do so. Hopefully this one is found. It would be nice to be able to play the oldest FNAF fan game in its entirety, but until then, it's only partially lost. Bird Village was a series of animated short films created by Scott Cawthon between 1999 and 2002. They followed around a group of birds named Beak, Seabill, Stork, and Camo as they went on their wacky adventures. Who knew Scott was coming up with such groundbreaking ideas even back then? I'm not gonna dog on this guy too hard. He was only 21 at the time and didn't have even a fraction of the resources we have today. There's next to no info on these shorts, as they didn't seem to make it very far outside of where Scott lived and the company that he had been working with. Because of that, there are only 2 tapes and 5 segments of these shorts that have been discovered, though it's possible that there are more. Until late 2020, the only footage we had of these shorts were as a bonus feature on another one of Scott's early animation projects called Return to Mush Snail. In November of 2020, though, a user named King Wizard found out that he had actually owned one of the 2 tapes and uploaded the 3 episodes it contained onto YouTube. Around 3 years later, in March of 2024, a user by the name of Philly Brave got into contact with David Hutter, a film director that Scott had worked with throughout the years on films, but through him, he was able to retrieve the other known VHS tape, which contained another missing episode along with the full movie. There is a known sequel to the movie called Bird Village Second Nest that is only known because Scott had it listed as one of his sample works on his website. At this point in time, there are only 5 confirmed segments and 4 that have been found. I haven't watched any of the segments because I'm not sure how much information I could gather watching an hour and a half of birds being wacky and getting into shenanigans, but if you'd like to let me know, definitely leave a comment. For now, the Bird Village series is only partially lost. Around 2016, a channel by the name of Ponage McGee would upload a series of videos titled 11 Drunk Guys Play FNAF. These videos were about what you'd expect, yelling at each other over FNAF. This channel had made other videos in this style with other games to what seems like mild success. They posted a total of 8 videos of them just playing the different Five Nights at Freddy's games. For whatever reason though, one day they just happened to vanish off YouTube, and since then, many of the videos have been lost. A user on Reddit sometime in 2024 had posted to a lost piece subreddit asking if anyone had any of these videos archived or if they could somehow recover them. Miraculously, not long after the thread was posted, a user in the comments would drop a Google Drive link containing 5 of the 8 known videos, 3 parts from FNAF 1, 2 parts from FNAF 2. As for the other 3 videos, we have no information on what they could be. This is me from the future, but on June 26th, 2024, a user I'm not going to try and pronounce posted every single 11 Drunk Guys Play video this year, including all 8 of the FNAF videos. So yeah, this isn't lost anymore. I was lying to you the whole time. But someone in the comments of the thread suggested that the reason they were taken down is because one of the drunk guys who were white said the N-word during one of these videos. Moral of the story part 2, if you aren't black, maybe don't say the N-word. Five Nights at Vegas was a FNAF fan game that began development in 2016, and prior to the game's expected release, a trailer for the game would be released. Ultimately, this trailer would be the very downfall of this game. There's next to nothing known or saved about this trailer. The only thing that people remember this trailer for is this very line, the jazz era. It was fun, wasn't it? Casinos were created, they were the cause of new stars, and the addiction of gambling too, and drug addictions that led to... Yeah, I really don't know what to say. For a brief while, this trailer, and specifically that line, people would reference on Nothing subreddit. Regardless of how outlandish whatever that was, this trailer still has yet to be found, and the only proof of it that we have are accounts from those who had seen the trailer, now deleted posts that feature the trailer, and one single screenshot of a puppet-looking figure that was supposedly hidden at the end of the trailer. I know assault isn't a very funny thing, and the use of this line was probably why the trailer was taken down. Here we are, at the final tier. This is where some of the most interesting and obscure pieces of lost media surrounding the FNAF series and community can be found. If you've been enjoying so far, please subscribe. I'm always working on new videos for you, and it's an easy way to show your support and be notified of the next upload. Without further ado, Tier 6, the final tier. If you don't know who Teddy Bear 87 or Zombie Wars SMT are, don't worry, because I have next to no fucking clue either. I can't find Teddy Bear 87's channel anymore, but to summarize to the best of my ability, they were both decently prominent creators around the release and initial blow-up of FNAF, making the type of videos you'd expect from FNAF YouTubers 10 years ago. Gameplay videos, theories, and the music, pretty much everything. They apparently used footage of the game by Teddy Bear 87 without their permission, which Teddy Bear 87 was very vocally upset about, regardless of the fact that credit was given. They would send fans of theirs to harass them by spreading fake rumors and making multiple alt accounts to stalk and harass them. Unfortunately, that is really all the details I have about the situation. There aren't any screenshots that I can find about this specific instance besides this one of a false copyright strike that Teddy Bear 87 sent to Zombie Wars. Other than that, I would consider this on the verge of lost and partially found, though I think lost would be a more fitting place. This entry stems from a Reddit post that I had seen, but upon coming back to it to write this video, it was almost entirely gone. Thankfully, there is a Wayback Machine capture of what the Reddit post said. I'll give you a quick summary. The user was looking back at some old comics for nostalgia and decided to look for one specific that they had remembered quite vividly. It was an idea of how the animatronics became withered, and some of the key details that they had mentioned were Freddy becoming depressed because he couldn't find the killer, and through a series of events, he ended up ripping off Bonnie's face while Chica tried to stop him, which is also how she got her damage. Some other details were that the comic was fairly well drawn, and that they had originally seen it from a YouTube video that was nothing more than a slideshow of the pages with some sad music over it. Someone commented under the post suggesting that it could be the comic titled Out with the Old. Though skimming through this comic, I can see that there are some pretty big similarities that could lead to someone into thinking this is the comic they were thinking of. Obviously, it has the staple animatronics beating each other, turning them into the withered animatronics. But there was also some big details that didn't quite match up, such as Freddy getting depressed over not being able to find the killer. Then when the story Freddy and Toy Freddy are talking about the murders, it turns into more of a heated conversation between them than a sad one. And it isn't Freddy that rips off Bonnie's face, it's Toy Chica. These differences put me on the fence on whether it is the comic that the poster is talking about or not, but since the post has been taken down and the poster never clarified if it was or not, we still won't ever know. For now, I'm leaving this as lost, though we have potential for what it might be. It is still entirely possible that there is a different comic with similar ideas, just executed in a different way. The Tearing was a young adult horror book written by Scott Cawthon under the pseudonym Michael Parsons back in 2013, a year before the release of Five Nights at Freddy's. What makes this so desirable for Lost Media fans is that this was the first known horror project made by Scott prior to FNAF, as well as the synopsis has references to missing and murdered children at an orphanage, a slight resemblance to the story of Five Nights at Freddy's minus the location. For the copyright of The Tearing, you can see that under authorship on application, it says Michael Parsons, pseudonym of Scott Cawthon. Though there aren't any direct links and an image like this could easily be faked, Scott himself, 9 years back, confirmed on a thread about The Tearing that he had written stories and published them under different names, which confirms that this is a real book. As for the book itself, it's completely lost. Would you look at that? We got another update. Since I wrote this video a couple months ago, the book has actually been partially found, uploaded on some random website. On here, though, the synopsis gives us some interesting information about the story. The children in the story are not fiction, but are based on the real-life children whose lives are literally torn apart each day. The readers come to know these children and suffer with them, confronting the reader with the gruesome reality and horror of abortion. So, yeah, take that as you will. I just wanted to give an update as now it's partially found. 10 Scary Nights is the second earliest known FNAF fan game, right after Creepy Boston Castle, which I mentioned in the tier before. In this game, you have a laptop in front of you where you can monitor any intruders that enter your house. If the intruders enter your house and make their way to you, you can close the door next to you to keep them out. Your goal is to keep them out of your room for 2 minutes until the security system alerts the cops. Now you might be realizing this isn't typically what you'd expect from a FNAF fan game, and you're right. But I think the coincidence in the mechanics and the timing of the release of this game are pretty clear giveaways that this is a FNAF fan game. This game was released sometime before late October, which is quite a bit earlier than some fan games people think are the first, like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Massacre in November of 2014 and Five Nights at Treasure Island in December of 2014. This game is completely lost. There are only 2 mentions of it on the internet that I have ever been able to find. One being this comment on a Reddit post asking for fan game suggestions, and a video on the channel Little Miss Fairy Tale, which is just a let's play of the game which shows us how the game looks and how the mechanics work. I hope this game gets found one day, but honestly I think there's a less than 0% chance that it ever sees the light of day again, with how obscure it is. The only video of the game has under 6,000 views. One can hope that it would be nice to try it out and see if there was an ending to it. We made it to the end of the iceberg. Now we have a whole lot to cover, and I honestly had a whole lot of fun researching and writing this video. I want to say thank you to everyone who had liked or commented on the last video. The support on it was insanely overwhelming, and I can't thank you guys enough. I'm going to keep posting as often as I can. I truly love making these types of videos, and FNAF has been something I've been into since I was a kid. It's honestly a dream to be able to make videos about it and for people to actually care enough to watch them, even if you're new. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I'm sure if you were into this video, you'll be interested in my last video, where I completed every night of all 3 one-night these games back to back without dying a single time. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.
You'll be done for.
Welcome everyone to the Non-Human Encounters Iceberg. This video will be going over lesser known accounts of people coming face to face with beings that are anything but human. Most of these come from people calling into radio podcasts to tell their own stories, telling of encounters with things like aliens, talking vending machines and stuffed toys, cryptids, extraterrestrials, and a whole lot more. And I tried my best to make sure all these cases are really unknown and obscure. So if you guys want to support the work, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps more than you might think. Anyways, let's get straight into the video now with the first entry. The Smelly Gritty Man. John recalled a strange encounter he had back in 1992 that still haunts him to this day. He had stopped at a local store, they kind of place he often visited to grab a soda or water. As he went to the
So
cooler,
much
picked up his
power,
water, and
so
got back
much
in line,
power.
everything seemed
If
empty.
I put
But it was when he noticed the guy
here.
standing behind the guy ahead of him that John felt something that immediately threw him off. It was the smell at first, an overpowering stench that reminded him of gutted deer, something he was all too
I'm
familiar
not
with
finished
as a
filming.
hunter
I'm
himself.
done for the night.
Yet the thing was, this smell was different, worse somehow, like it came from something sick. He couldn't believe no one else seemed to notice it. Everyone in line behind him was acting normal, going about their business like they didn't sense anything unusual. The guy behind the counter seemed unfazed too. John, on the other hand though, was standing there, almost gagging from the smell, but everyone around him acted like nothing was wrong. The guy in front of him stepped up to buy a pack of Marlboro cigarettes, and as John got closer, the heat coming off him was intense, like standing too close to a heat lamp. He figured someone else had to notice, but no one reacted. Then the guy turned slightly, his right shoulder lining up with John's left. John stood about 2 feet behind him, and that's when things got weirder. As the man turned his head, he gave John this odd look, like they shared some sort of inside joke, except there was nothing funny about it. His lips curled into a grin, but it was off. Something about his face didn't look right. John couldn't shake the feeling that the man's mouth didn't fit in his almost like the skin was stretched too tightly across his face. The teeth weren't jagged or anything, but the whole expression left John deeply creeped out. The man's grin lingered for just a moment, and then he turned away and left. John was left there still processing what he just experienced. The heat, the smell, that grin, it was like something wasn't human about the whole interaction. To this day, John can't forget it. He even had nightmares about it after. The most creepy part was how no one else seemed to react at all, even though he was convinced that the heat and smell should have been impossible to ignore. As the memory resurfaced, he could recall the man's exact outfit, a pair of Levi's cowboy boots, a black braided leather belt, and a tucked-in Oxford shirt. His hair was cut unusually short for the early 90s as well. The strange details stuck with John, as vivid now as they were back then. The man might have walked away that night, but the experience never left. Dancing human-sized dolls. In the early 1960s, a young girl growing up in Wichita, Kansas, experienced something really strange. She and her little brother, who was albino and had suffered from scarlet fever at birth, lived with her grandmother. Because of his condition, her brother was mentally impaired and legally blind during the day, but his vision improved at night, making him more active during those late hours. Their shared bedroom had 2 twin beds with a crib placed between them. Each night, while the girl tried to sleep, her brother stayed awake, observing something she could never fully explain. Human-sized dolls would emerge from the walk-in closet, moving around the crib. There was a toy soldier carrying a drum, a large Raggedy Ann doll, and a teddy bear. These figures would silently dance around the crib, generating a sound to fill the room with their presence. The girl, disturbed to watch, would turn away, focusing on the wallpaper in the room, which had a pattern of flowers. She would count the flowers, trying to distract herself from the dolls. This strange event happened every night for about 2 years. The presence of the dolls became a routine, something she dreaded but had no way of stopping. Eventually, her brother was institutionalized because of the difficulties his condition presented, and after that, the dolls stopped appearing. The girl, now an adult, believes that her brother might have somehow manifested these human-sized dolls, bringing them to life in his mind to keep himself company during those long, quiet nights. The Mirror Men. A man influenced by PD shared a strange encounter that happened during a night navigation exercise in the woods of Southern California. It was one of those high-speed, adrenaline-pumping training sessions where laser-like focus is crucial, especially when you're out in the wilderness late at night. The woods at night can really mess with your head, but Pete and his partner were experienced enough not to let it rattle them. It was around 2 a.m. and Pete and his partner were moving to their next spot after hours of checking off navigation points. At this point, they were nearing the last checkpoint, which had been a real challenge to locate. After rechecking their map, they moved closer to the road, using the moonlight to get a better view of their surroundings. That's when BD spotted something really unusual. Three figures were walking along the road, moving in perfect unison. His immediate thought was that it had to be their instructors, so he signaled for his partner to hide in the shadows to avoid being seen. But as the figures came closer, something felt off. These weren't just regular instructors. All three of these figures were the same exact height, standing around 6'7", and they moved in a synchronized way that was almost too perfect.
Alright,
Each step,
I'm
each
hopping
arm
off.
swing, all in perfect
Thank you
harmony.
all for being interested today.
Confusion turned into
Goodbye.
disbelief by now.
Have a good night or day, whatever time zone it is for you.
In a foreign
Good night.
language that neither